Right now, you know something that almost nothing else on Earth knows. You know you are going to die. Not as a distant idea, not as something that happens to other people. You know it is coming for you specifically on a day you cannot see, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. The question is not whether you know this. You do. The question is when humans first started knowing it, because somewhere between 300,000 years ago and today, a living creature sat in the dirt for the very first time in the history of life on this planet and understood that they were not going to last forever. That moment was not just a thought. It was the beginning of everything that makes us human. For most animals, death is something that happens around them. A predator takes a member of the group. A body goes still. The others move on within hours. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, will sometimes carry a dead infant for days. Elephants return to the bones of their dead and touch them gently with their trunks. There is grief in other species. There is something that looks like mourning. But there is no evidence in any animal other than humans of an individual looking at a dead body and thinking that the exact same thing will one day happen to them personally. That specific leap from witnessing death to anticipating your own required something the animal kingdom had never produced before. It required a brain that could model its own future. And the moment that brain appeared, everything changed. The first physical evidence we have of humans understanding death comes from a cave in northern Israel called Kafza. Inside that cave, archaeologists found the deliberate burials of at least 15 individuals placed in the ground roughly 100,000 years ago. Not left where they fell, not abandoned, arranged. The bodies were positioned carefully, with tools placed beside them, with red ochre powder dusted across the bones. Red ochre has no practical survival function. It costs time and energy to produce. The only reason to dust a dead body with red pigment is because you believe the body still matters. And the only reason to believe a dead body still matters is because you understand that it was once a person. And you feel something about the fact that the person is gone. That is not animal instinct. That is not survival behavior. That is something else entirely. That is a creature that knows what it lost, but the story goes deeper than 100,000 years. In 2015, researchers discovered something in a cave system in South Africa that forced every anthropologist in the world to reconsider the timeline. Deep inside the Rising Star Cave, in a chamber accessible only through a narrow passage barely wide enough for a human body, they found the bones of a creature called Homo naledi. Homo naledi was not fully modern. Its brain was a third of the size of yours. It had fingers built for climbing trees more than for crafting tools. By every measure we used at the time, it should not have been capable of abstract thought. And yet the bodies inside that chamber had been placed there deliberately, in a location with no practical purpose, deep underground where no one would ever need to go. The researchers who published that discovery proposed something that the scientific community is still debating. That burial, the intentional placement of the dead in a chosen location, began not with modern humans but with a much older ancestor whose brain was far smaller than ours. That the awareness of death is not something that appeared recently. It may be something that runs far deeper into our ancestry than anyone was prepared to believe. What does a species do when it first understands that it is going to die? Psychologists have a name for this. They call it mortality salience. And what their research shows is this. The moment you remind a human being of their own death, something shifts. They cling harder to the groups they belong to. They defend their beliefs more aggressively. They create more art. They build more things. They pursue legacy with an intensity that no other animal ever shows. Every religion ever built was built in the shadow of this knowledge. Every monument ever raised, every story ever told, every child ever brought into the world with the conscious hope that something of you will continue after you are gone. All of it traces back to that single terrifying awareness. I am going to die and I do not want to disappear entirely. The scientists who study this have reached a conclusion that is difficult to sit with. They believe that human civilization itself, language, art, burial, religion, architecture, science, is not something we built because we are intelligent. It is something we built because we are afraid. Because at some point in the deep past, a human brain became complex enough to look forward in time and see its own ending. And the response to that vision was to build everything you see around you today. The ancient humans who buried their dead 100,000 years ago in that cave in Israel did not have hospitals or cities or the internet. They did not have language the way you understand language, but they had the same awareness you have right now. They knew the people they loved were not coming back, and they knew that one day they would be the ones in the ground. They just did not know what to do with that knowledge yet. Neither, if we are honest, do we. We have just gotten much better at building things to distract ourselves from it.